What's going on, everybody? It's Nathan Payne.
What's up, guys? It's Corey Roysum.
We've got our buddy Jordy Clark.
Jordy Clark here.
That's right. And just to introduce everybody, but hey, this is the Investor Thrive podcast coming to you live from the Investor Thrive studio. And if you don't know what Investor Thrive is, it's a business dedicated to helping real estate professionals in their personal lives and in their businesses. So check out investorthrive.com, but that's who is sponsoring this podcast. So check it out, everybody.
Yeah.
What's up?
So we got Jordy here. Jordy actually bought one of our very first deals we did. What was that?
That was a couple
3-4
years ago.
Yeah.
It was like three and a half
Almost
or something like
4
that.
years ago now. Because it was like December 2018.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dang. So,
Bought one of our first deals.
man, good times back in the day
Yeah.
when we were fresh. And you were flipping a ton of homes back then, and you've just been growing ever since, huh?
How long,
Yeah,
How long were you flipping at that time?
That was actually probably my fourth or fifth flip. So
Oh.
just getting going.
Getting going with us.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We
man.
kind of figured it out together.
That's
Yeah.
true. So before we kind of get into, the stories of like our first deal and like the info, Corey, I guess what are we going to talk about today with Jordy? Like, what's an overview?
Yeah, so I mean, we just want to talk about kind of his background, get to know Jordy a little bit, talk about his deals, what he's doing right now, what his strategies are, what his real estate goals are. Those are kind of the main things we want to go over.
Yeah, because the audience right here is the wholesalers, right? So we want to provide value to them. You know, what can wholesalers do to help cash buyers, guys like you that invest? How can we provide you value, right? So as you tell us what you need, hopefully, everyone can go out and learn how we can help, investors like yourself. So let's dive into the first deal we did with you.
Cool. Is it cool if I give a little brief bio just to kind of
Yeah.
give context so people know?
Go ahead, man.
Cool. So I've been a real estate agent for about 8 years now here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I've brokered over 650 deals. It's about $350 million in real estate just as an agent.
You better slow down, dude.
I started flipping very heavily when we first met about 3 years ago. Up until then, I had done 3 or 4 flips. Right now, I have a company that flips about a home a month.
Nice.
I own 32 rental properties.
Let's go. Those are 32 doors?
32 doors.
Okay.
Yep. It consists of a 12-plex, a 6-plex, a 5-plex, a handful of single-family houses, and then one commercial office space. As well as I bought a house and we're redeveloping it, so we're going to scrape it here in a few months, and it's in downtown Salt Lake City, which is really gentrifying, and
Sweet, man.
we're going to build a 6-unit townhome, refinance it, and keep that.
Wow.
As well as I serve on the board of 2 real estate investor associations here in Utah, UV-RIA and SLRIA. So I help run those, and everyone that kind of catches the financial freedom real estate bug, I'm helping run those organizations as part of my give back.
Yeah.
My total real estate portfolio, the value's just over $8 million.
Awesome.
So it's pretty
Feels
cool.
good,
Going up
doesn't
from
it?
there.
Feels great, man.
Does all that debt worry you or not at all?
Oh, not at all.
Not at all.
No.
Not from your posts that you do on Facebook. You're like, hey, debt is good, baby.
Debt is great, especially when I don't have to pay for it,
Yeah.
right? And other people are paying it down while the properties are going up in value. I mean, I think across the nation this year, we saw huge appreciation. I know here in Utah, we saw 28% year-over-year appreciation.
Unreal.
Insane.
So
So you've been doing good.
great to ride that wave. Yep. And I mean, everywhere saw appreciation, right? Really what I think we're seeing is just a devalue in the dollar because there's more dollars out there. I read somewhere, I think it's 40% of all our money supply was printed last year.
Wow.
Right.
That's
So
scary, dude.
that's why we're
scary.
seeing used cars go up in value. Right. That's why we're seeing everything get more expensive. I was just on the phone with my plumber and he's telling me everything's more
Charging you
expensive.
more.
He's charging me more
Yeah.
if he can find the tubs. Right. Like,
Shoot, dude.
so yeah, it's interesting. It's been a fun journey. So that hopefully that gives everyone a little context
That's
on,
great
on
context.
who I am. I flip, I own rental properties, we broker stuff.
So you're pretty much the man. That's what you get.
I'm working on it, right? Yeah, working.
Yeah, man, I've honestly learned a ton from your Facebook stories. Like, it's good. You're putting out good stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, maybe I need to start getting some properties like Jordy. Because we're complete blinders on, right? Like, we're trying to just wholesale. Like, this is freaking. But it's like now, from what your content and what you're saying, it's like, hey, you probably should keep some stuff.
There was a lot of years where I told you I brokered 650 deals. And most of that time, I hadn't ever bought an investment property.
Right.
I was selling houses to my clients, and I look up 2 or 3 years later, and the $60,000 house was now worth $120, and I was like, oh, that's not bad. But fast forward 8 years. And, that $60,000 house that I brokered is now worth $360.
Right.
Right. And the rents have grown. So as inflation happens, rent gets more expensive. Everything gets more expensive, right? But your debt payment is fixed.
It's true.
So you're cash flowing more and more and more as the years go on. And most of my portfolio's growth, believe it or not, has happened this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden I've got equity from these properties, and I'm like, hey, rather than sell it, let's refinance, pull some cash out, go buy more, or we take a look at it. If we don't like a property, like I had a short-term rental down in Moab, Utah, a couple national parks there, a lot of traffic, did really well on nightly rents, but we decided to sell it and reposition our equity and go buy some apartment complexes.
Well, dang, dude, because I would think of that investment as like a great investment, but you even put it into something better, you're saying? Like you took the Moab one and positioned it somewhere?
That's the goal, because, we paid $465 for it, and I guess the transaction's closed now, so I can talk about it.
Let's go.
We just sold it for $750, and we held it 18 months.
That's amazing.
Wow,
dude.
almost doubled.
Almost double, and it cash flowed. Our gross rents were close to $80,000 a year on it.
Dang,
Wow.
dude. So,
insane.
for you, so you got 32 doors, and I think when we first started doing this, I went to like one of your events, and it had like you, I think, who was the guy he's that dude with the hair. I don't know how to describe him, but he's a mortgage guy.
Oh yeah, it's probably my buddy Matt Atkinson.
Yep.
Yep.
So you guys were talking about like, okay, this is the pathway to wealth. That was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So you've just gone and freaking done that,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's been your strategy.
Yep.
And it's been working.
So far.
I love it.
Let me ask you this: does your real estate investment portfolio make more than you do as a broker now?
By far.
By far.
Yep.
It's awesome.
So your active income is now your passive is your goal is to get your passive right, like doing way better than your active income. Is that the right way to word it?
That's definitely one way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of look at it like I enjoy what I do. Mm-hmm. I love flipping houses. I love picking up distressed properties, fixing them up, making them rental properties. It's called the Burr method.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. So I'm not really trying to like escape a job that I absolutely hate.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more important that I'm doing what I enjoy. I'm adding value, and obviously growing net worth, growing horizontal income. I also want to grow my vertical income.
Yeah.
Right. So like you guys are trying to wholesale as many houses as possible. I've got my real estate team. We're trying to broker as many houses as possible. I'm also trying to flip, right, to get more vertical income, earned income, and then try to put that into rental properties, right? Just because it's more leveraged and can grow.
So what I was actually going to ask you, which you answered, is so you're not trying to escape a job and like create amazing, like just I don't have to work anymore because you enjoy this, right?
Yep.
So is there even a number on how many doors you want, or is there a goal, or are you just like, hey, I'm just doing this for fun now?
You ever gonna retire?
I'll probably pivot what I'm doing. Right now, I really enjoy it, but flipping is not scalable. Selling houses is not scalable. It's
wholesaling is not scalable.
It's not scalable, right?
It's
Like
freaking
takes
tough.
a lot of work. It's a grind. It's a hustle. You can make a ton of money. But I know like a ton of real estate agents who they're living paycheck to paycheck, even though they're making $500,000 a year.
Just because of they're living outside their means, or what?
I mean, living at their means,
At their
living
means.
right below it. Doctors do the same thing, right? Like your lifestyle kind of creeps up and hits where you're making. Where people get into problems is when they're spending more than what they make, right? Or their income, maybe they have a banner year, say they make $500,000 a year, and then all of a sudden they're used to spending $45,000 a month. All of a sudden they make $300,000, but they don't want to change that lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to crank your lifestyle down. It's easy to crank it up, but it's hard to crank it down.
Would you say you're in your, I don't know if this is too personal, but are you living underneath underneath your means, or have you cranked your lifestyle up like most people do?
We've tried to do both, right? Because I've also seen a couple friends just in the industry pass away. I've seen some friends get cancer and definitely go way too soon.
Okay.
And so, I'm trying to enjoy life. Like, I'm not the guy that's driving a 2001 Honda Civic.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we got nice cars.
You got the 2003.
Yeah, no. Funny, I hit a net worth goal, and 5 years ago, I set a goal. I was like, hey, I'm going to buy myself a sports car when I hit this net worth number. Mm-hmm. And I hit it earlier this year, and I really struggled rewarding myself. Mm-hmm. And one of the coaches I have, he's like, dude, just do it. He's like, doesn't really matter. It doesn't impact you.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that could be working so much harder. And he's like, yeah, but like, life is meant to be enjoyed, right? So I was like,
so what'd you buy?
Okay, cool. So I went out and bought a BMW M4.
Ooh, M4.
You like it?
Love it.
It's worth it?
Yeah.
That's
what year?
Awesome, man.
So being a frugal real estate investor, I picked up a 2015 that had low miles.
Got to get the deal still.
Got a deal. Yeah, I'm a deal junkie, so.
Mm-hmm. That's sweet.
That's awesome.
Well, dude, it's interesting to look at. I mean, I don't like to compare myself. Comparison's bad, but I when we started wholesaling and you've started flipping, and look at what your path has brought you. I mean, I'm not saying we're millionaires. I mean, we're not even close to that kind of net worth. But look at your trajectory versus ours. Like we've just focused on just strictly wholesaling, and you've gone into let me leverage properties, and you're freaking crushing it, right?
Yeah. So really, what I did is every property I flipped, I would do two things with the money. I would go and buy more rentals, and I would pay taxes. So I was actively brokering deals. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was living on. That was my income. And we lived a decent lifestyle. But I wasn't gaining any traction, right? So we started flipping houses, and then we took the flipping profit. Mm-hmm. I still paid myself a commission. And then the profit that was left over on a flip, I took that and plowed it into rental properties and paid taxes.
And you pay taxes so you can qualify for more money, right? You didn't write off.
You have to pay taxes.
Well, you mean?
Well, you don't have to pay taxes.
Did you write off like a ton of stuff, or you mean you pay taxes by you didn't do a lot of write-offs?
Previously, I had written off as much as I could so that I didn't have to pay taxes.
But now?
I still write off as much as I can.
Okay, you still do it?
Yep. However, my income is still enough to qualify for mortgages. Okay. It's always kind of a balance, I think.
Because that's where I'm struggling right now is I write off so much, my income looks so low that like I can't really get more money to invest, I guess, from banks.
It's kind of different, though, once you get into multifamily, right? Like once you get into the 5, 12 units, like it's not about your income as much, right?
Yeah, so it's less about the income from you and more about the income of the asset.
Yeah.
So on multifamily, just to digress just a little bit, what they do is they'll take the gross income of the property and they'll take the operating expenses out, and that leaves you your net operating income, your NOI, right? And then they'll take, basically they've got a number, debt service coverage ratio, DSCR, or debt coverage ratio, and usually it's 1.2, 1.25. So basically, they want to make sure that your net operating income is 125% of the debt payments, right? So they're saying, hey, after all the expenses, we want to make sure that this property cash flows, and it's...
So you would make 25%, essentially.
Essentially.
So where are you finding those kind of good deals? Because that's got to be a good deal, right?
Yeah, typically, we
From
find
wholesalers?
Wholesalers. A lot of wholesalers don't do multifamily, though.
Because they don't know what the heck they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, they'll find a single-family house. It's easy to value a single-family house.
Right.
Multifamily gets more complex.
So not so much from wholesalers. Are you finding them on the MLS? Or you find them from relationships?
So yeah, I found my 5-plex, my 6-plex from relationships, and I have something very specific I look for. right? I've got my buy box. And for that, well, for everything really, I'm looking for something where I can add value, whether that's flipping it and I put a new kitchen in it, make it look pretty, or if I can, make it look better, fix things, increase rents, lower expenses, all of that on multifamily will add value.
Nice.
So I look for value add deals. I'm not paying retail. Even though you may pick something up on the MLS, if it's a value add deal, you can go in and really add value, right?
When you go to get a loan on that, do they include that into their projections, like the value that you can add, or is it based off like your projected net income, or is it based off like actual current net income?
So they can do both. Commercial banks get it. They've got a ton of different loan products out there. So I just bought a 12 unit. And
Where at, by the way?
in South Ogden, right by Weber State University. So like a Class B area. It's like a 1960s vintage building, townhouse style.
I think I saw that on your Facebook.
Yeah, it was on the MLS. I found it on the MLS.
Wow.
So it was a little overpriced, but we locked it up and
Nah. Did
Yeah.
you get it down later? Or?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were able to work something out
Due
with them.
diligence.
Yeah, you went in and said, "Hey, this place sucks. Let me get a deal." Okay. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, dude, you've already given us like tons of info. I've always wanted to get into getting properties, right? But like, to be real, running a wholesale business is a freaking monster. Like, it's crazy.
Yep.
You gotta get your marketing on point. So to venture off and do wholesaling, but also keep properties. I mean, we've had to spend most of our money to keep the wholesaling business alive. Like you make 50,000, you got to spend like 20 to 30 just to pay off the overhead and then the marketing expenses, and you don't have much left to reinvest. So I guess, did that happen a lot to you? Like where you?
Yeah, it totally did. Because if you remember, I was selling real estate forever. Well, really 4 years, and I wasn't gaining any traction. It was literally
like-
just
like us.
I was spending everything I was making in the business, right? Because we were trying to find leads. We were trying to find motivated buyers, motivated sellers, just like you guys find motivated sellers, just on the agency side versus wholesaling. And what happens is you have a good commission, you have a good wholesale, and you splurge a little bit, but then you also have to pay for more marketing. You have to pay to keep the business running, right? It wasn't until I read the book, it's called The Richest Man in Babylon. And one totally a
Good book.
great
Check it out.
great book. In the book, it basically says you have to pay yourself first, right? So I started paying myself 10% of my commissions.
Right.
And I realized, like, holy cow, if I just take 10% off the top, I now don't have enough to live my life and run my business. So I had to find a way to juice it more so that I had more income so that I could go out and buy more rental properties, right? And at first it was super slow, because then all of a sudden I started this house flipping business that's very capital intensive. You got to put a down payment, you got to put the rehab in, and then you're waiting to sell it, right? You get it, you get a big chunk of change back again, but then you got to go find another deal. So it's almost like you have to hop on the treadmill and run for a little bit longer, starting a new business. But I always kind of kept it in the back of my mind, like, I need to buy rental properties, because when I buy a rental property, just for easy numbers, I buy a $100,000 house. I put 20% down, right? I stick a tenant in there. And let's just say, for just easy math, I don't make any money every month. Every dollar in cash flow I make goes to repair the property, right? But the loan's getting paid down, right? And hopefully I've bought in an area that is going up in value.
Which in Utah, that's pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
In this area.
Yeah. But there's a lot, right? Like, since COVID hit, the nation is just like, everyone's moving around, right? So like, some areas are losing people. Some areas are gaining people. So if I were looking in a different market, I'd go find somewhere that people are moving to, because just the supply demand curve, right? Less houses means you're going to have higher appreciation.
Yeah.
Dang.
So it sounds like the key was not. How many deals do you still broker a year, roughly?
So we're on track to do about 70 deals this year.
Is that more or less than you used to do?
I would say
Similar.
for the last 3 or 4 years, I haven't focused on growing that. I've focused on maintaining that while I'm systematically growing my rental portfolio and keeping my fix and flips at 12 to 15 a year.
So that's kind of like stayed the same then,
Yeah.
roughly. So it sounds like the key was for you diversifying and adding in new income streams.
Yep.
And not just focusing on being a broker.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And what I did is I fixed my lifestyle on my commission income,
Not on the full.
not on the full thing.
Okay.
Right. So then I took the other money and literally I just pretended it didn't exist. And as soon as it hit my bank account, I would go out and try to find a house to buy to keep for a rental property.
Yeah.
Because, like
You didn't need
when
it.
the money's in the account, like I think everyone looks at their account and they go, oh yeah, like I got this money. Like I need new TV.
I want this.
I want this. I want a BMW M4, right? Like we just naturally go like just trying to enjoy life.
Did you have a separate account that you would put that money into that you wouldn't, you would just use
Yep.
allocated directly
Yeah,
for
yeah.
rentals?
Great question. I did.
Okay.
Another question. So what percent of your, and you don't have to give us exact numbers, but what percent of your income now is from investing versus like flipping, rentals versus your brokerage?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head.
What's an estimate?
How about you ask me another question and I'll look it up
Yeah, yeah.
and I'll let you know.
Well, while you're doing that, just to talk to the audience and us, like that's honestly like what's been on my mind a lot is, we focus so much on the wholesaling business. We've been kind of stuck where, he was. And I would recommend, and I think that's something we're trying to do. Like we're flipping a house in Roy. We're about to flip another house in South Jordan. We're trying to kind of do what you're doing. Like I used to be a little afraid of keeping stuff and having debt, but now I'm like, I don't care. It's like something's clicked in me where I'm like, I need to keep some stuff, and we need to start getting some rentals. Like I rent out my basement, and I have a rental in South Salt Lake, and that's 2, right? 2 doors, big deal.
You got to start somewhere, man.
Gotta start somewhere, right?
Don't knock yourself.
Yeah, I'm not.
Right? Like,
yeah,
I think
right.
the problem with our society is, and I'll totally let you get back to this, but we compare our blooper reel to other people's highlight reels. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's true. Yeah.
Like, we look on social media and see what everyone else is doing. We're like, holy cow, like, I suck. I'm not doing enough. I'm
It's
not
true,
doing
dude.
this. So-and-so's doing this, but I'm not doing this, right? Like, and we don't take enough time to go, hey, where have I come from? Where am I going? Right. And then just stay on our path. Right. So like stay in your lane. If you want to flip houses, go flip houses. If you want to wholesale houses, just become world class at it. Figure out how to automate it, get your expenses as low as possible and your income as high as possible. Right.
Right.
Live on a reasonable amount and then invest the difference, because you'll look up in 5-10 years and all of a sudden you're just completely different.
Yeah. Do you mess with stocks or stocks at all, or is it just straight?
I don't
real
mess with
estate?
bonds.
Nobody messes with bonds. Yeah. Do you mess with stocks at all, or is it just straight real estate?
I mean, I've got some exposure as my net worth grows, and so I'm a part of a mastermind called GoBundance. It's a tribe for healthy, wealthy men that want to just live an epic life. And there's a lot of guys in there that just totally different backgrounds. So I do have some exposure to stocks. The brokerage that I'm a part of, I get stock options as part of my comp package. And then I've just got some here or there. I don't really have any crypto. I don't really have anything else. Just because, like, I think,
you understand real estate.
Yeah.
Might as well put that money in there.
yeah, I can get probably better returns than most other people are getting in the stock market.
Yeah.
Even though, I can't go and post on social media about how great Bitcoin is and how I bought it at however much
Yeah.
It's flashy,
coin.
right?
So, how much you're in a bunch of you've done a lot of coaching just like we have, and you've done some masterminds. How much would you say that's helped you to get where you are right now?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be here without being in those coaching programs and learning. I think we as a society get so stuck in, hey, you have to sit in this desk for 12 years and go through elementary school, middle school, high school, right? And then you have to go to college and sit down and this is what we're going to teach you. And I think if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer and you need to know specific things, then that totally makes sense. Right? Like I was pre-med before I got my real estate license, and I realized like I don't really want to be an orthopedic surgeon, right? The irony is I'm doing what I love now, and I make more than most orthopedic surgeons. Right? Because I do what I enjoy, and like the money is just a byproduct. But when you chase money, money goes away. So I kind of look at it like I invest in myself. And I do that through masterminds. Like my wife and I are a part of a couples mastermind with 6 or 7 other high-level couples, and we meet once a month on Zoom. We just got back from a trip. We went to Cabo San Lucas, and just an expanding 4 days.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, overall, it's huge.
That's freaking sweet. You got it yet, or still looking?
Yeah. So my flipping income is probably 25% of my total income.
Okay. And what about the rental income?
Rental income's, it's probably about 20%.
So almost half of it comes from your investing?
Yep.
Wow. That's freaking sweet, man.
Yeah, so I probably live on 40% of my income right now.
And the rest you just putting it away.
Yeah.
And and again, I think I already asked you this, but is there a goal in mind, like 100 units? Is there a time where you're just like, hey, I'm going to stop investing because I'm good. I could stop today. And I'm sure you're good right now. Like you stop, you already got millions. You don't need to invest anymore. Is there a time where you're just like, I'm just going to spend all my money?
So right now our passive income is about 80% of what our annual spend is. Okay. So I'm almost financially free. Okay. So if we cranked back our lifestyle or
up the investments,
yeah, like if we could do either, right? Then we could technically be financially free. But I'm good where our lifestyle is at. We definitely have to be careful not to let it continue to crank up, right?
What cranks it up, by the way? Bigger house, more. What cranks? Like everyone says, hey, you adjust the lifestyle, right? Like you make more. Like,
yeah.
What is that? What's that big stuff? Like trips? Is it?
It's everything.
It's everything.
Yeah.
What
like,
causes it?
Like if you start ordering DoorDash every single day, all of a sudden you got a $1,500 a month DoorDash bill.
Gotcha.
And like that increases your.
When you used to be okay with just eating at
like
the
top
house,
ramen, right? Like I love ramen.
Mm-hmm. No, we all do. You know? It's that good chicken, the chicken flavor.
So it's everything, right? Okay. Like you increase, you get a bigger house, then all of a sudden all your neighbors have a boat, right? And you're like, oh crap, I need a boat. Right? Like, or a side by side, or you know, like, you move into a different neighborhood, and all of a sudden everyone's got sports cars, and you're like, oh, I need a sports car.
Got it. Right? It's keeping up with the Joneses, you know.
Yeah, part of that.
Yeah, just seeing everybody. I got it. Yeah, I mean, hey, makes sense. You know, everyone's got the boat. You want the boat too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a boat, right?
I don't have a boat.
You getting one?
Not getting one.
Okay.
Not yet.
Nice. So we've gone pretty. We got a little bit of time left. Let's circle back to where it all began for us, right?
Yeah.
Because this has been good. You've told us, where you're at, your bio. You've given the information to the wholesaling nation, Investors Thrive Nation. So let's see where we were 4 years ago and where we're at today. And you've moved on a lot. So this is me and Corey first started wholesaling. 4 years ago, was it?
It's actually like. The deal was actually 3 years ago.
3 years.
2018. We're in 2021, right?
Okay, so 3 years ago. So 3 years ain't that long, It hasn't been that long of time, right?
Yeah.
So 3 years ago, me and Corey literally started wholesaling, had no experience in real estate at all. He had some. I didn't have any.
Little,
and we didn't have any money. So what we did is we went knocking in Sandy. And I knocked on this door, and this guy came out, and he looked kind of pretty grungy, like he was on drugs, like meth. And I said, hey, my name's Nathan. We're looking to buy houses in the area. Are you interested? He's like, I don't live here. My grandma lives here. Here's her. She's thinking about selling. So I said, can I have her number? He gives me her number. I call her. Corey goes on an appointment with her and locks her up just because she was ready to go at 2:15. and you got that deal. I think we gave it to you to 205 eventually, or 204. But we had originally locked it up at 215, and then me and Corey looked at the comps again, and we were like, I think we locked it up too high. So Corey went the next day and said, hey, I'm really sorry. We thought your house had a basement. We're actually going to be at need to be at 170. And she just lost it on him. She was so pissed. Like, how dare you? I already packed like one box. You know, this was a day. This was a day after.
Yeah, she'd done a bunch of work.
She was so mad. She's like, I already packed a box. You guys have like ruined my life because I was ready. And so we canceled the agreement. And then, 3 months later, Corey was telling me, like, as we were brand new wholesalers, he was like, Nate, if we want to be successful in this business, we have to start caring about the people, not about the money, but caring about the individual. So then I said, hey, Corey, remember Barbara? We kind of put her in a bad position, from what she said. She was upset that she didn't get to move that, and she had packed that box. Let's go back to her and see how she's doing. So Corey's like, I'm not going back to her. She lit me up. So I said, I'll go there. So we drive over there. I'm like, Corey, just come to the door. He's like, I'm not getting out of the car. You go, and if she wants to talk to us, we'll go. I'll go in there. So I go to the door. I knock on the door. I say, hey, Barbara, we were going to buy your house. We got our comps wrong. I'm really sorry. Just want to apologize. Are you still interested in selling? She's like, no, get out of here. So I with my head down, I walk back to the car, and then she as I'm about to get in the car, she comes out the door, and I just see a hand waving me over. I'm like, oh no, she's about to light me up. So I go to there, and she calls me in the house, and she walks me over to 2 boxes on the ground. She's like, those are the boxes I packed when you guys told me you're going to buy my house, and you guys didn't. That I was ready. And I said, hey, look, I apologize again. We care about you. What can we do to make this work? So Corey, she was ready to talk because we were ready to, we cared about her. Sat in the house, and we were, after about 5 or 7 appointments, we were actually able to lock her down for 178. Fast forward 6 months later, you got the deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a lot of effort and work for you guys, right?
And there's a lot that goes into
this. That's the most effort one of the most efforts.
Well, and I don't think the story stops there. So I've never heard all of that, right? But
that's how I got it.
That goes to show the fortunes in the follow-up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So good for you guys for following up with her.
Dude,
and at the end of the day, she was happy because she got to move. She paid cash for her next property, right?
Yep. And she could barely afford her mortgage, even though it was super low, but she was able to pay cash, was out of there, had some cash to go. But the story doesn't end there. So after we had got it under contract, we had assigned it to a buyer. I think you know him. We won't say his name. He agreed to buy it. And then because we were new at wholesaling and he knew we didn't have a lot of buyers, a week before close or 2 weeks before close, he was like, hey, guys, I know I said I was going to pay 205. I'll pay 180 because he knew we had it at 178. So he was like, just trying to rock us.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, we ain't playing this game with you. Yeah. So then we
sold him our first deal and made $5K.
Yeah,
so he thought that was too much for us.
Yeah, he had the kind of mindset back then. I don't know if it is now. You need to pay your freaking dues, and you're not making money. So we had sent that out again, and you came through, and you walked the house, and you offered to buy a 205, and we were like, hallelujah, we're about to make $17K. That just helped us a ton. I don't know exactly the numbers, but it was like that.
Yeah.
But so you came in. And this is where it got kind of crazy. This is where the deal got crazy. We had told her that she would have a week after close to move out. And then as soon as you close, you're like, guys, she needs to be out of there tomorrow.
Yeah. I just remember Jordy was pushing me so hard
to
get her out. I was
and we
were
so, because until that time we had done 3 wholesale deals and they were all vacant. So we had never thought, okay, what happens when
issue?
Yeah.
We had never
we didn't
thought
understand the urgency,
the occupancy
of the
on the purchase contract.
So he was like, and I understand you didn't want them staying in there for a long time. So you're like, come on, guys. So we went there the day after close, and we're like, hey, the buyer that we were working with, he wants you guys out. I know it's kind of inconvenient, but we're gonna help you move. So we freaking got a big 26-foot U-Haul. We told her we would move her ourselves, which is the biggest mistake ever because she was a hoarder.
Yeah.
So we start, me, Corey, our 2 cold callers that were working for us at the time, we start packing this freaking truck up. And it takes about 6 hours later, we've gotten this far in the truck.
Do you remember how much stuff she had?
She had a lot.
So much
Yeah,
stuff.
the 2 boxes that she had previously packed, I'm sure was already packed from her last move.
Oh, guaranteed,
Yeah.
dude. So we tried to move her stuff and got nothing done in like 6 hours. And we were paying our cold callers doing, and they didn't really want to touch anything. And
Yeah,
don't wanna
well,
touch anything.
yeah, I remember when we were trashing out the house, there's animal feces under piles of stuff in the garage.
yeah, dude.
It was bad. Not my worst house I've ever bought, but
it's pretty bad.
it was up there.
So what happened is we were moving this stuff, and then it said, Corey, we can't do this anymore. We're gonna be here for about 2 weeks moving, and Jordy's gonna be upset with us. So we had to hurry. So I went on Facebook, found like graveyard movers or some like prison yard movers, and I called the number. These guys showed up. They were like shaved heads. These guys looked like they just came out of the prison yard, and they were literally like the Tasmanian devil on Space Jam, like spit shine. They came through that house in like a couple hours, and all the stuff was packed.
Yeah, the first truck was packed within like 2 hours.
These guys one dude had a limp.
They're just
He was like
tossing
carrying
stuff.
like a straight dresser on his shoulder with a limp, and I'm like, this guy is like Hercules. Anyway, these movers were amazing.
Yeah, that just goes to show, like, when you stay in your lane and you hire people for specific things, right? Like, this is why I don't wholesale.
Yeah, dude.
Because you wholesalers, like, you guys do a better job at talking to people than I would, because it's what you do.
No, dude,
Right?
crazy. Yeah. So they packed it up, and it actually took 2 26-foot trucks. So we had to go get another U-Haul, and you got the house, so it wasn't even all cleaned out like
No.
perfectly. So can you imagine 2 26-foot trucks? She had so much stuff. So anyway, we moved her out. My man got his house somewhat clean. That was our first deal we did with you, and yeah, man, we've been on the trajectory of us solely trying to build a wholesaling business, and through this podcast, you guys can see that, our boy Jordy's been brokering, but he's also been, doing fix and flips and rentals, and he's doing great. So,
it just goes back to, and I got a little bit more time. We can go for a couple more minutes,
Okay.
but I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is why I got involved in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book, every time I reread it, I get something new, but it always hits me like, it doesn't matter what you do for a job, right? So it just so happened that I was a real estate agent.
Right.
That was my job, right? It still technically is, but like, you guys are wholesalers. But at the end of the day, you have to mind your own business, right? So your job can be different than your business. So
true.
My business is building a rental property portfolio, right? Because over time, property values go up, loans get paid down, and it's not my $1,000 a month that's paying it down every month, right? In return, I'm taking some risk, but I'm giving an opportunity. I'm giving a nice clean house for someone to, raise their family in, or just live their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like, that's an asset for me that's getting paid down while it's going up in value, right? And I'm taking the spread.
So what's your opinion on short-term Airbnbs versus, renting out to a family does a year lease?
I think short-term makes a lot of sense. I have a little bit of exposure in my portfolio, but honestly, I think long-term rentals, it's just bread and butter. It's always been around. It will always be around. Mm-hmm. The hotel industry does not like Airbnb for obvious reasons, right? They're taking market share. Mm-hmm. They're disrupting, which is cool, unless you're a hotel.
Yeah.
And there's hotel lobbies that they're literally going to municipalities right now saying, you need to stop this. You need to shut Airbnb down. You need to shut these vacation rentals down. Now, in vacation rental markets, right, resort destinations, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like Smoky Mountains. Most people
Moab too, right?
Moab, right? Like, I'm buying a place up in Bear Lake, which is right on the border of Utah and Idaho. It's very seasonal up there. Mm-hmm. If we get to use it, great. But we're going to rent it out. And there's extra headache that happens with nightly rentals because you got to deal with higher turnover. You got to pay somebody to clean it, and you got to make sure that they're cleaning it good. Otherwise, you're going to get bad reviews. And if you get bad reviews, like, it's a negative spiral.
Yeah.
With long-term rentals, really it's very front-loaded. All your work is done up front. So I just make sure that, well, I don't anymore. I have a property manager, but basically they make sure that, credit score is okay. We're not looking for perfection, just a history of people being responsible, right? We don't want people who don't pay because that's not a win-win. We're looking for a win-win. So if we can provide a good housing situation for somebody, whether that be an apartment, a single-family home, whatever it is, over the long term, like that's all I really care about. Because at the end of the day, like none of what we accumulate here materially matters, right? We all die. We can't take any of this with us. As much as, it pains me, I can't take a Ferrari with me when I pass away. What I can take with me, my family, my memories,
Eternal family.
my life. Yeah. Like it's just, that's what you take with you.
Yeah. Your
Right. Is all your
experiences,
experiences. So that's way more important to me than material stuff. Right. And at the end of the day, like I just believe housing is one of those needs.
Yeah, and you're playing the game, right? Life is a game. You're playing it, and you're just deciding to do what makes good return.
I'm playing real life Monopoly.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Well, what would your suggestion be for guys like us, or I would say 90% of the people that are going to watch this that are brand new to wholesaling? What would you recommend for us and them to get into, rentals?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is always the tricky part, right? I was driving down the road with one of the agents on my team, and I was like, oh, dude, I remember, like, I could have bought that house. I could have bought that house. I sold that house, right? Like, I was going down this, and he's like, so, right? Like, yeah, you had to sell some, but you've got what you got now. Like, just grow it. And so, I mean, I would say you guys got to keep in mind, like, whether you're wholesaling because you just are sick of a job or you're trying to build a business, at the end of the day, there's multiple things you need to do to grow your wealth. And it's not just all about earned income, right? Rentals can be a great way for you to build wealth slowly because it's not get rich quick. It can be if you're very leveraged, which again, I like debt, especially debt that I don't have to pay back. But if you look at how our whole system is built, the Federal Reserve, which is different than the federal government, is inflating their debt away. So they're devaluing the dollar, making the trillions and trillions and trillions that they keep borrowing worth less.
Right.
So if you have money just sitting in a bank account, it literally is worth less in a month versus now. Right. And we're seeing it right now. It's November 2021, where, you have to pay more for milk, you have to pay more for eggs, you have to pay more for gas. And it's not just supply chain issues. Like everything is getting more expensive. So real estate is a great way to hedge inflation. And everyone, if you're wholesaling, if you're a flipper, like we should all be minding our own business and buying rental real estate. So whether that's, instead of wholesaling 5 houses a month, you wholesale 4 and keep 1, right? And then maybe, you're trying to live off of 50% of your income, and then you reinvest some back into the business. And if you kind of grow everything simultaneously like that, I think you can have exponential growth. Okay. Versus like just trying to move everything possible.
Would you recommend starting a separate LLC? Like, for example, me and Corey, we own our LLC, Utah Home Acquisitions, that is our wholesaling business.
Yep.
Would you recommend starting a separate LLC to own the rentals, or would you put it all in one?
So that's a great question. Your audience base is nationwide. So I'm going to say consult with an asset protection attorney in your state. So I can tell you what I've done.
We'll probably just do in Utah, by the way. We'll probably just keep stuff in Utah.
Yeah. So for me, my LLC that I earn my income in is different than what I flip in.
Okay.
And then I have different LLCs for my properties. So I have a series LLC, which holds a bunch of different properties. And you can create sub companies. I won't get into this. Like, you guys can research series LLCs if you want, but I've got a series LLC that owns some rental properties. I own a couple of properties with some partners, and we obviously have a different LLC set up for that because it's a different ownership structure. So I think I've got like 13 or 14 LLCs total.
That's sick, dude. I love it, man. I'm honestly, that's something that really pumps me up because, I mean, our wholesaling wholesaling is cool, right? And if you can create a monster that's just doing like 10, 20 deals a month, then that's great. But it's, you're kind of stuck if you're doing like 1 to 10. It's just like very marketing heavy and it's very expensive. And unless you can break out of there, you're kind of, the goal is to break out of that and just do more, or you're just kind of,
or you're not making enough to really make a difference.
Yeah. Or you got to do it a different way, right? Like when you guys were door knocking, that's more cost effective than mailing.
But not really scalable, right?
Not scalable, right? It's all based on time. So,
Right.
but you got to kind of do a little bit of everything, right? So, I mean, if you're driving for dollars, why not stop and knock on a few doors that look really distressed?
Yeah.
And then those people have a face to put to the name when you send them postcards versus just being one of the 15 postcards from everyone else that's driving for dollars.
Yeah.
And then when you skip trace that number, so I think if you layer it as a wholesaler and, you go drive for dollars, market to them, so you're sending them mailers, but then you skip trace it and you say, hey, we just sent you a mailer, time it so that, it's a day or two after they get it or the same day. And then you actually physically go knock on some of those doors. I would be willing to bet that you can drive your cost per lead way down and your cost per deal down just by optimizing what you already have.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like I was on another call today with a wholesaler who basically sends out mail, and then the return mail that doesn't get delivered, he'll actually take the time to individually call that person or research if they're deceased, and then he'll call their relatives, and he gets more deals from his return mail but that's the further step that a lot of people don't want to do, right? Or what you're saying is drive for dollars. Do we want to drive for dollars personally when we can pull a list from PropStream and just blanket everybody with a cold call or a text? Not really, but it's that stuff you're saying that drives the cost down.
Yeah. Well, but that's where you get more margin in life to go and build what I've built, right? Because I could have very easily said, hey, I'm going to stop being an agent and I'm just going to live off my flipping income, right? Instead, I said, hey, I'm going to do the hard thing, which is I'm going to keep grinding at my day job while also my side hustle is flipping homes. And then I take those profits from my home flips and I go and buy rental properties, which is my long-term exit strategy, right? Like that's more complicated than just, oh yeah, cool. I flipped this house, made a couple bucks. I'm going to live on it.
Yeah.
Now I got a couple more questions. Is the BRRRR method? Are most of those through a hard money loan that you get and then you BRRRR out of it, or is it like you conventionally you get a conventional loan and then you? Well, I guess on a
couple different
conventional
ways.
loan,
You don't need a
So-
You're
conventional,
right.
you need a BRRRR.
You're
It's
right. You're
conventional,
right.
Yeah. I would say the best way to do it is when you guys are sitting as wholesalers, and this is a great tip too, just moving more deals. When you're sitting with a seller across the table, give them two offers. Say, hey, this is my cash offer. Hey, at the same time, I can close the same day on what's called an installment sale, right? On an installment sale, you're basically going to become the bank and you pitch seller financing in a way that's not don't use the word seller financing. There's benefits. You delay your taxes. You can spread it out into a couple tax
So it is
years.
seller financing, but not.
It is seller financing, but anytime you say seller financing, people are like, oh, whoa.
Got
They
it.
get all freaked out because they don't
So
understand
that's how you
it.
do a lot of it. You do installment. What did you call it?
An
Installment.
installment sale.
Installment sale, and then you refinance out of that.
Yeah,
Okay,
because it's
great.
way cheaper than
Than
hard money.
hard money. Oh, I
Right?
love
Like if I can get seller financing on a deal at 4% interest with no points, and I can go in and I can fix it up and then refinance it in 2 months, I saved myself 2 points because a hard money lender is going to charge me 2% of the loan amount as their fee, and then the interest is 12%.
Good idea. I didn't think that.
So
much.
if you can do that, you take a mediocre deal, burring it, and again, BRRRR, just so no one gets left behind, is you buy a property, rehab it, rent it out, refinance it, and then repeat, right? And the perfect deal would be you're into a property for nothing down, you get all your money out. There's a couple different ways to do that, but you basically get as much money out as possible.
Well,
So
I had one in Dallas where the guy was in the army, and he was like, "Look, I just want $3,000, and you just take over my mortgage,
Yep.
right?" So I was willing to do that, but it was a little tight on the rent. His mortgage was $1,400, and the rent was $17. So you could still cash flow, but it was also in a place that we've never been. We had to probably put about 10 or 15 because it did need a remodel. So it's probably something I would have taken here in Utah. Be like, oh yeah, $3,000 down, and then obviously the rents will appreciate and it's going to get paid down. It would have been a good deal, but didn't want to mess it, so we assigned it to someone else. But that's where you find them, right? You find people that just, hey, I don't have a lot of equity, my house needs a little bit of work, or maybe doesn't need any work, but they're just willing to let you take over their mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, and as a wholesaler, right, you can probably make bigger wholesale fees off of seller financing. Because if I don't have to go pay a hard money lender, the price that I, as a landlord, can pay just went up, right?
Yeah.
Because now I don't have to pay, so let's call it a $300,000 house. I don't have to pay $6,000 to a hard money lender. So you guys as wholesalers can make a little bit more, right? Which we all want to make more money.
Yeah, that's true.
Last question, then we'll let you go. Multifamily or single family? What's your focus now?
Both.
Both. Why
Yeah.
both?
Yeah.
So a couple of reasons. I like multifamily. For where I'm at now, it's way easier for me to finance multifamily than it is single family. Just purely because I'm almost maxed out on my Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans.
When does that max out, by the way? Like
10 loans.
Okay.
Yep. We're going to start putting some in my wife's name, but for now, my credit's pretty tapped out as far as number of mortgages I can get. But single family deals are way easier to come by, right? Because we all just go about life and have life happen to us. There's death, divorce, like a lot of stuff happens. People move. So people traditionally will buy a single family house for themselves. And then if something happens and it's a distressed sale, it's easier to find distressed sales in single family houses. One, because there's more of them. And two, just because buyer or owners are usually a little bit less sophisticated. Like the owner of a 12-plex, the only reason they're going to have a distressed sale is if there's a financial need or if they have a better opportunity that they're willing to take a discount for.
Yeah.
So I like single family because they're easy to transact. They're easy to find deals. I like multifamily because there's better tax benefits because I can go and do a cost segregation study and accelerate depreciation, which saves me money on taxes today. Mm-hmm. And then eventually we'll have to deal with it in the future. But if I can grow my money more now with less in taxes, then compound growth will take over, right?
So you real quick. So you said you're leveraged, not leveraged, but you've maxed out almost with 10, and you're going to start doing your wife's name. Is it worth it for you to reach out to like not me specifically, but someone who has the income and that can get 10, and you just 50-50 it, or you partner on the deal? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Are you planning on doing that, or is that worth it to you?
It would depend. So for me, I'm pretty strategic about my partners that I pick, just because like when you get to a certain point, so when we all start out in real estate, if you have no money but a lot of time, like you want to do every deal possible, right? The more you start doing, the more you realize like, hey, I don't really want to own that type of house, right? Like I was under a contract on a triplex for $250. We went and walked through it, and like just talking to the tenants in our due diligence period, I was like, man, I'm going to have like bad dreams. I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh crap, are these guys burning my house down? Yeah. Like, it's just not a tenant base that I want to deal with. Okay. Right.
Was it the location or just the specific tenants?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Like the location would not have attracted the type of tenants that I want.
Where was that?
It was in Ogden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had one in Layton that I was looking at. I think I sent it to you, and it was just a ton of fourplexes in that area, so it was just kind of a trashy area for like lower rent. I mean, when you hear fourplex, you're like, oh, cool, but it was kind of like that too.
Yeah, I mean, what you buy, you have to sell, right? So as a rental property investor, I used to be like all over any deal. Like if it was a deal, I'd buy it. I've gotten a little bit more picky now just because I'm like, hey, like my time is finite. There's only so much I can do. So I'm looking for very specific deals. So
At some point, you'll have to sell it too.
at some point you'll have to sell it, and then you have to deal with like weird houses. Guys attract weird people, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just
I mean, you would know more than we do because you deal with the, I guess that you're selling it. You're a broker, right? So you deal with those. We're dealing with the weird people pretty much all the time.
So wouldn't it be better just instead of going and getting a partner to use their 10? Wouldn't it be better just to do like a commercial loan?
yeah. You could
'Cause
you
then
could, you could certainly do
You
that.
pay a little more interest, but you wouldn't be splitting the profit 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, so you guys know who the real estate guys are?
They're called the real estate.
The
guys?
real estate guys.
Maybe.
Russell Gray is one of the guys. They also do a podcast.
Yeah.
Is it as good as this one?
He says, "How about you guys just have something different to offer the world than they do?"
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't say it's any better or any worse. Your content's different. Their content's
was
different.
just blunt.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like,
Maybe we
you
can wear
guys,
funky hats
no,
or
yeah, you guys have something different to offer the world than
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, good for you guys. Go do that.
Yeah.
But getting back to it, I think if two partners have the same strength, one of them is not needed, right? And Russ
Right,
Gray
yeah.
from the real estate guys said that. So, like, on the 12-plex I bought, I have a partner, but his strengths are totally different than mine.
Right.
But we get along really well, but we both enjoy doing different tasks related to real estate ownership, but we enjoy a lot of the same physical activities, right? So we ski together, we mountain bike together, like we got kids about the same age. So like it's a good fit that side, but then it's also a good fit because we do different things in the business,
Got it. Yeah.
right? So I don't think like the question is partner, no partner. I would say it's more about find the right person if you're going to find a partner.
Okay, makes sense. Well, dang, bro, you giving us a
yeah.
lot of juice on this episode.
Yeah, we
I
appreciate
love it, man. And we
That's
did
good.
go a little bit longer than we thought, but I think it's been great. And you're welcome if you want to post this wherever you want. It's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can share it. Investor Thrive Nation. I hope you guys had a good time learning. And let's get some rentals. And I guess would they be able to reach out to you if they want some advice or?
Yeah, so probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is Instagram or Facebook. So Jordy Clark on Facebook.
Do you mind if we share that on
You can definitely
description?
Yeah, you can definitely put it on there. And then my Instagram handles at Jordy Clark _RE, like real estate. But then definitely put it in there and
Put it in there.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if we can benefit you by any means, like maybe some people can bring you deals. If you're
Bringing deals in Utah. He likes to flip here.
Yeah.
Buy rent.
or bring us the deals and we'll give it to them.
Either way, man, relationships matter.
Let's go. All right. Well, thanks, Investor Thrive Nation, for attending, and thanks, Jordy.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
It.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, later.
Anytime. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.